Welcome to Cafecito y Calidad. I'm your host, Elizabeth Sanchez, licensed marriage and family therapist and certified coffee enthusiast. Whether we're catching up with friends, studying for a big exam, or grounding with a little caffeinated cozy goodness, coffee brings us together, it powers us up, and it gives us a reason to sit down and connect. Each week, I'll be sitting down with an inspiring entrepreneur to discuss their journey towards building successful businesses and the mental wellness tools they use to alleviate burnout. But first, let's take a sip of something warm and comforting, shall we? Are you in the mood for some amazing Mexican-inspired food and coffee? Then head over to Chismosa's Cafe in West Covina. Chef Alan's cooking is inspired by his Mexican-American roots, and the coffee is just as delicious. It's the perfect place to relax and have some quality conversations with friends and colleagues. So come on down to Chismosa's Cafe and let's talk about mental health over a cup of coffee and some amazing food. Welcome to Cafecito y Calidad. I'm your host, Elizabeth Sanchez, licensed marriage and family therapist. Today we'll be exploring the relationship between gut health, mental health, stress management, and motherhood. On today's episode, we have our special guest, Tiffany Adela, gut health specialist. Hi, Tiffany. Thank you so much for being on today's episode.
Thank you so much for having me.
Tiffany, could you share a little bit about who you are and what got you interested in, gut health and working with moms?
Well, I was super excited to be here. My name is Tiffany Adela. I am a nurse practitioner turned functional health consultant, specializing in gut health. So I really became interested in this area after I had my own gut health struggles, after I had my first baby in nursing school. So I was under a ton of stress. I was a full-time student. I was a new mom. And I started to have just like all of these symptoms. I had bloating. I had digestive issues, tiredness, dry skin. I was losing my hair. And I had always kind of dealt with anxiety, but it just kind of like hit an all-time high. I tried to deal with it on my own, and then I had my second baby in nurse practitioner school, and everything just worsened. I went through, all of the baby blues, and I finally was at a point where I was like, okay, I need to ask for help because this is just getting to be too much for me. I went to multiple doctors who ran my labs, said everything was normal, I was fine, it was just part of being a new mom. And it was just really frustrating. And I knew that there had to be something more. And that's when I found functional medicine and the huge impact that gut health plays in all aspects of our health, our physical health, our mental health, and the importance of really digging to that root cause instead of just treating the symptoms. And once I realized that, everything just improved for me. And so it kind of became my mission to help others improve their health through the same way.
We share a very similar story, so I really appreciate you sharing kind of your background. I think that's also how I came across you on social media. Is I was struggling with my own gut health, my son's skin issues, and you have so much knowledge around this topic, which is why I reached out to you for us to do this episode. So Tiffany, I'm just curious. I'm in the mental health field. I'm a therapist. How do you typically connect the mental health part of, mental health issues with gut health in your practice? How do you treat a client in that way?
So it's really interesting, right? Because we don't really directly think of it, but so many of our hormones are directly affected by our gut health, which then in turn affects our mental health, right? So even our serotonin, around 95% of that is actually produced in the gut. And so when we see issues in our gut health, we start to see issues trickling downstream into our, our hormonal health and in turn our mental health. And so that's all influenced by how healthy or how unhealthy our gut microbiome is. So that plays a huge role in all of the hormones, right? Our vitamin D, our estrogen levels, our cortisol, everything that directly impacts our mood and anxiety, depression, and things like that. So I really try to focus on finding the root cause because it's not enough to know that we have these deficiencies. We need to figure out what's causing it. And then again, just building that connection to make sure we are healing the gut so that we can then move on to healing the hormonal health, mental health, and all of those things.
Yeah. Do you see a lot of these issues, especially since our episode is really around, motherhood, stress management, and gut health? Do you see a lot of these mental health issues with your mom clients?
Yeah, 100%, especially because we're giving so much of ourselves, right? Like we are taking care of our kids and, we might be working or we're taking care of our family members, whatever it is. And we're always kind of putting ourselves last. And so what this does is over time, our stress levels are increasing. Those cortisol levels are increasing. That is causing, things like dysbiosis in the gut or a leaky gut that's happening, which is basically just meaning that your intestinal wall is letting things through that it shouldn't. And so things like toxins, bacteria are then getting into the bloodstream. And those are even further causing things like tiredness, bloating, anxiety. It's just a huge collection of widespread symptoms that just kind of like repeats the cycle over and over, especially in moms.
Yes. And, you and I are both moms, so we know the struggles around, stress management, self care. So when you do have a new mom, maybe a new mom or mom with kids, multiple kids, do you have any specific like self care strategies that you introduced to your moms around, gut health and how to manage their stress?
Yeah, so I worked with them in a few different ways, right? Because we want to help whatever is worsening it from the root cause. So that's where I'm looking into like the gut health, what's going on in the microbiome, what are the hormone levels looking like so that we can fix that. But like you said, we're busy moms.
Yes.
And if we don't address any of the lifestyle factors, we will just keep seeing these same things happening over and over and over again. And so I'm really taking a look at their entire day and figuring out where can we carve out time for you because you need to prioritize yourself too, right? And so this might look like saying positive affirmations while you're brushing your teeth or taking a deep breath before you go in to handle whatever type of situation is going on with your kids right now. Just really prioritizing and seeing where we can fit these little self-care strategies into the daily routine.
Yeah, being a therapist, I think this goes hand in hand with the work that I do. I think we often talk about self care being, taking a vacation or right going shopping or getting our nails done, right? But I think even nutrition is part of our basic self care, right? Drinking water, making sure we're eating our meals. Is that something that you definitely encourage with your clients, especially moms? I know that it was hard for me, but just curious to see what your experience has been.
Yes, definitely. You're right. We hear self-care and we do think like we need to do mani-pedi or we need to go,
Yeah.
do something like fun. But as moms, we're needing to make sure that our basic needs are met. And a
Yes.
lot of us aren't even doing that. And that's when we start to see a lot of problems happening. So I'll have moms come to me that, they're too busy in the morning. So they're skipping breakfast, living on coffee on an empty stomach. They're probably not prioritizing things like getting 90 grams of protein during the day or drinking at least half their body weight in water, things that I kind of try to incorporate with my clients. And so we're definitely kind of shifting the mindset too around this because it's not as simple as just saying you need 90 grams of protein. You need to be eating more. You need to be drinking more water. It's not that simple, right? Because it's like, where do I find the time to be able to carry out all of these things that I need to do for my health? So we're definitely encouraging that, but we're taking a bigger step back at why it's so hard to maintain this in the first place, and then breaking down as many barriers as we can to being able to live that healthy lifestyle.
And so I think staying with that topic, Tiffany, what are some strategies? Because I know it comes up in my sessions with my clients. Like, I'm drinking coffee. I'm guilty of it. I have my coffee next to me. But like, what are some strategies that you do introduce maybe to a new mom who has a newborn, might be breastfeeding, having to change diapers and taking baths. So is there any specific strategies like, hey, we need to drink this amount of water? Here are some tips, or these are some tips for whether it's meal prepping. Yeah, anything that has come up in your practice?
So, yeah, I'm always looking at, I call it boosting, right? I
Okay.
love boosting what my clients are already doing, even if it's maybe not beneficial to them yet. Once we boost it, it becomes super beneficial and it helps promote their gut health, hormone health, all of that, right? So, what this might look like is maybe all they have time for breakfast in the morning, if they're eating it, is a bowl of oatmeal, right? Super easy, put it in the microwave, whatever, it's done. But because it's usually a simple carb, we are just getting that quick blood sugar spike. It's really not doing anything for us in the long run as far as like our energy is going, which stresses us out even more because then we're tired at that 2 p.m. energy crash. And so what I might suggest to them is, okay, keep your oatmeal, but let's add in a scoop of like plant-based protein powder and let's top it with some nuts, some mixed berries, some chia seeds. You can even like bundle it together. So all you have to do is just literally pour it on in the morning. And that is just such an easy way to not only hit you, now you're hitting your protein goal, and now you're also hitting your fiber goal, and you're also getting in some mixed fruits because we want to try to eat all of the colors of the rainbow each day. So I'm really taking what they're already doing and figuring out how we can add to it so we're not stressing them out anymore, but we're still promoting all of those healthy lifestyle benefits we want them to see.
I love that because, I use like a very strength-based approach with my clients too. So this is also really empowering, like a mom not having to learn a new skill. They could probably even the little recipe you just gave right now, right? Like an overnight oats type of thing,
Mhm.
doing it at night when baby's asleep or while the baby's taking a nap. So I think that's really helpful and really encouraging. In my practice, Tiffany, I work with a lot of, the BIPOC community, people of color, and I come across that we tend to feel a lot of different sensations in our bodies, and oftentimes it goes back to our stomach. Like, oh, I'm having issues with my stomach, like it hurts. I go to the doctor, and the doctor says I'm fine. Um, so, have you come across working with the BIPOC community any specific issues around stress and gut health?
Yes, definitely. So I I'm mixed, right? But I grew up in a Hispanic household. My mom is Hispanic. And so I think the traditional, even just model that we see kind of in front of us, right? My mom was working, taking care of the kids, cleaning, cooking, doing all of the household chores, while my stepdad kind of went to work and maybe didn't participate in, some of those, the rest of that goes into running the household. This isn't always the case, but that was kind of the traditional model that I saw from my parents, from my grandparents. My husband saw that in his parents. And so for a mom, again, we are putting ourselves on the back burner by doing this, by not really even asking for help, even if we might need it, because we saw our moms as so strong and independent, and we need to be just like that, right? But what this ends up doing is that we are just kind of bundling all of this stress up inside. And over time, this is then allowing the gut to have those things like bacterial overgrowths or undergrowths or leaky gut, or gut immune function going on to where it then manifests itself physically into bloating, tiredness that the doctors really can't in traditional medicine necessarily test for, because we need to look at what your day to day looks like to be able to figure it out, not just what your, basic lab results might show. We need to actually take care of the person on a holistic level and then also see how that stress and that environment has led to the gut health issues that we have now. I think it also goes into the foods that we're eating, of course. I grew up on processed foods, lots of simple carbs, not, fruits and vegetables weren't really in my rotation. And so then again, we're not being fed a diverse diet. that is helping the different types of microorganisms that we need to flourish and grow. So it kind of really all combines between the stress levels, the model that we see in front of us, the nutrition that we grow up with, and then it's kind of hard to navigate how to even change that because it's all that we've seen. And so I think, it's definitely something that I have to handle a little bit differently depending on where the mindset is from even childhood, because it's such a huge shift that we have to make. But once we are able to implement, even just simple changes like more fruits and veggies and stress reducing techniques and things like that, we see a huge improvement in the benefits. I mean, in the symptoms. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. I'm sure. One of the things that you said that really stood out to me was you do take the time, Tiffany, to really sit down and have a very comprehensive, it's almost a very intimate like session with your clients. And I think working with the BIPOC community, that's super important because, a lot of us are coming from a more collectivistic culture where, we do like how personal, our doctors getting personal, and we just don't really see that. And so I think that that also gives them the opportunity to really open up, especially a new mom who's, the baby's now first, that, they probably feel super supported by you. Like, oh, you're actually taking the chance to get to know me, to ask me why I'm so stressed out. So, yeah, it's more of a personal interaction versus like, what are your symptoms? And let's move on with it, correct?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. And I'm sure they share even more with you, as you take this time. How often, if you don't mind me asking, how long does it usually take, like a one session look like with you? Like, is it 90 minutes? Is it an hour?
So the first session that I do with my clients is usually 90 minutes.
Okay.
And this is a case review. So I send them intake forms ahead of time, and we are going literally back to their childhood. Like, I want to know what type of infections you had as a kid. I want to know what type of household you grew up in. What does your day to day look like now, and what symptoms are you dealing with? That really sets the foundations for how I'm going to care for them as we continue to work together. And then follow-up sessions are usually for about an hour. I like to ideally meet with them once a week for about 3 to 4 months so that we can start to really see these changes take place and a lot of the mindset work that goes into it.
Okay, beautiful. And with research, is there, I'm sure you've been doing this work for a very long time, Tiffany. How about research? Is there any research that's out there for maybe new moms that you recommend new moms read, whether it's books, articles?
I think especially for new moms, we are thinking, again, just so much of our kids, right? And it's really nice that we can kind of incorporate health changes in ourselves so that our kids have a better future, right? There is so much research exploding in the gut microbiome just in the past 2 years, like thousands of publications that are actually showing and proving that the gut microbiome can play a role in things like depression and bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, autism, even things like Alzheimer's, dementia. So, really taking that, knowing that we want to have the best possible future for our children, it kind of helps to encourage us to make those lifestyle changes so that they have a better future. And we have to do that by role modeling it in ourselves. So I always kind of encourage further research into those areas because it helps us as moms kind of unlock that drive in, okay, it is time to make these changes because this starts from birth. And I have this new baby in front of me that I want to take care of and have the best possible future for. And that really comes from laying those foundations in the lifestyle and the nutrition and everything that goes into that.
And how powerful is that, right? You have a mom, and I think I can really resonate with that. You have a mom that has this brand new baby, like really being able to break those multi-generational cycles. And like, I'm going to now be modeling to my baby what good gut health is, right? With nutrition and practicing self-care. And, I self-identify as Mexican American. My parents are immigrants from Mexico. And that really wasn't modeled. My parents were always working as well. And, you know, the self care strategies came later on when I kind of went on my own healing journey. So I think the work that you're doing is so powerful because these are the first times that moms are really getting strategies to, drink enough water or to enhance their meals. So you're doing a lot of great work.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's just like you, kind of breaking it on our own
Yeah.
helps me to really identify with those clients because when I was going through my own health struggles and I realized the importance that, gut health and just our lifestyle overall makes, my husband and I kind of sat down together and we're like, you need to do this differently. What are we doing? Because we need to make sure that we're both living healthy, not just for us, but for our kids. And so I think it is so powerful just the amount of information that is out there right now that we can really be able to break, that cycle that has been going on for the future. I think that is definitely amazing. So definitely relate to that.
Um, and Tiffany, is there, when you work with new moms, do you typically collaborate with maybe their other healthcare providers or, even a therapist to make sure that you're meeting kind of all, the client's needs and working with them holistically?
Yes, definitely, because I don't prescribe medications since I work, across all 50 states, and I don't directly counsel on, mental health since that is not my area of expertise.
Okay.
I'll help you find what worsens that physically and in your lifestyle. But when I see somebody that I feel needs further help, whether that is in mental health or with, adjusting their medications or something like that, we're definitely working either with the physician that they have, if it's a good fit for them, or finding somebody in their area that feels really aligned to the type of help that they need.
I like that you mentioned supplements. I have a lot of clients that are like psychiatrist or, taking psychiatric medication. And when I do mention, when I refer to you, I always mention, I am not, it's out of my scope of competence. I can't really, say much, but I know that Tiffany actually gives, can prescribe supplements. It's another option. And that sometimes is what gets their buy-in to go and see somebody who specializes in gut health because they don't. And I think it comes back to working with the BIPOC community. Um, it's scary, and it kind of already throws them off. So the fact that I am able to refer to you, clients are a little bit more open to maybe getting a little bit more support with their gut health, which then helps their mental health, and they are able to get better a lot quicker.
Yeah, I love using supplements because they are a great way to naturally kind of kickstart our body into what it needs to be doing or to help maintain what we need, right? So I definitely grew up where my great grandma like practiced herbal remedies and she was always doing different herbs for inflammation or for whatever it was. And I went through nursing school and nurse practitioner school and kind of shunned it, right? Because what I was being taught was, no, we need these medications. We need if they're depressed, they need antidepressants. We need this. We're not really looking into the root cause. We're just treating the symptoms. And so now I think it's so interesting that I'm like, okay, she was right.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yes, all of these herbs and natural remedies, they work. And we see that in the improvements that we see in the clients every single day.
And I think that's what makes you different than a regular doctor is that you are also aligning with them, right? Their ancestors, things that they were taught, things that they saw when they were little. I'm the same way. And my grandmother had her, her chamomile tea, her té de manzanilla. She had all these different like roots and herbal supplements. And I was always like, what is that? Or I was always curious about it. Or when I got a cold, she would make me a specific tea. I didn't know what was in it. I just knew it was natural. And, it worked. So now I'm like, wow, she really had, it was true. Like these things really do work. And now I see myself really as a mom as well, right? Incorporating that into my son's life. and doing it a little bit more natural.
Right.
Yeah. Do you, and are those, well, maybe that's something that we can, discuss. Is that something you share with your moms? Like specific ways that they can use maybe herbs or natural supplements to help with maybe stress reduction?
Yes. So I love doing everything as naturally as possible, right? Because it's something that I feel good about doing long term. Where like a medication, they come with so many different side effects that we probably don't want to do it long term unless we absolutely need to, right? So, like for example, right now I have my ginger turmeric tea latte, which is just like some ginger, turmeric, cracked black pepper, water, and almond milk, but that is helping with digestive issues, inflammation. It has so many health benefits. So, any way that we can incorporate herbs like that into our cooking or just into our everyday lifestyle, we can see such a huge difference.
Beautiful. Do you have, you've been doing this for a while now, Tiffany. Is there any success stories that you feel comfortable sharing with us today so that our audience can see the beautiful work you've been doing?
Yeah, so I have this one client. She came to me. She was a super busy mom, right?
Hmm.
She had two teenage kids. So they're kind of like in that area where they have all of these
Uh-huh.
extracurricular activities going on. And she's rushing between work and their activities and cooking and was not doing anything really for herself, right? So no exercise, a bunch of like quick, easy meals that were probably processed or, meals that she had gotten from like fast food, things like that. Always kind of putting herself second. And it was because she felt so strongly, same type of household that she grew up in, that she needed to be the one to kind of run everything, hold it together. And however she was feeling was just kind of put on the back burner. And so after we kind of worked together, we figured out, okay, where can we fit some exercise in? She leaned on her husband more so for support just by asking. It wasn't even that he didn't want to help. It was just that she had never voiced it because she felt that she had to keep it all inside. And so really making sure that you are creating that support system, fitting in some type of movement, wherever she could, adding in 30 minutes of movement a day, adding in sunlight to her routine. We changed her nutrition and we found easy ways because her busy lifestyle was still going to be busy, right?
Uh-huh.
But we found easy ways for her to get those nutritious meals in a way that was quick for her and still fueled her. And I remember she was like, Tiffany, I woke up this morning and I didn't have to hit snooze. Like I woke up on time. I had energy all day. I didn't crash at work. It was so amazing. I loved hearing her wins that she has. She was like, I wore a blazer to work that hasn't fit me in months and my jeans fit again. And then she sent me a text because, this was just recently we started going back into the office after COVID and all of that. And she was like, nobody could believe it was me. They're like, what are you doing different because you're glowing? And it's just like, it warms my heart to hear this because we just needed to listen to her and see what was going on in her life and how we could just make small changes to really benefit her and get her health on the right track. And she started to role model that for her kids as well. She had a daughter, teenage daughter. She was like, I don't want her to do the same thing I'm doing. I want to show her she needs to care for herself and to prioritize herself. And so it was really nice to see improvements, not only in her, but in her relationships with her family as well. It was a great experience.
Uh, Yeah, it's so interesting how then now the whole family, I'm sure, right, will start to shift and they start changing their ways. And her daughter, right, now, if she ever decides to, have children herself, now she's going to be able to break that cycle.
Yes.
And when you said she didn't hit the snooze button, those are some of the things that I'm constantly working with my mom clients. Like, I'm lethargic or I feel really sad or like tired in the morning. And those little changes that you help this mom make, like that then helps me in the therapy room. Like, how was that you're actually feeling motivated in the morning? How does it feel that you're able to have more energy to play with your kids. That automatically, lifts them, right?
Yes, 100%. I don't think we realize how tired we are until we start to feel better. And then it's like, how did I even make it through the day? But it makes such a huge difference in just being able, like you said, to have the energy to actually enjoy the time that you have with your family.
Being a mom, and when I started my own gut health journey with my husband and my family is starting to, see all naturopathic doctors. I think the minute I saw that my hair started to change, like it's now a lot fuller, and then my skin like is glowing, like I was like, wow, like those little things, right, make such a difference. So, no, so you're seeing this a lot in your practice then, right, Tiffany?
Yes, definitely. Once we're able to incorporate those little changes that help to actually boost the energy levels, whether that's through, like I said, the lifestyle changes, mindset, looking at the gut health and seeing what is holding them back physically so that we can get everything going and aligned to where they feel energized again. And like you said, I love it. I had a client come to me one time and she's like, is this normal? Because I have all these little hairs right here that are coming up and I don't know what's going on. I was like, your hair is growing back. I already did your hair back.
I know the little things, right, as moms that are so important. With new moms, Tiffany, is there any advice that you give them just to kind of help navigate like the physical and emotional challenges of being a mom?
Yes, being a new mom is such a blessing, right?
Yeah.
But it is a huge challenge. We are going through a ton of physical changes. We're losing all of these hormones. We're getting new ones. Our gut health is like all crazy and out of whack. And so when everything's changing, it's taking a huge toll on you physically and emotionally, and you're having to kind of navigate this without any experience, right? Because it's like, I've never done this before. What am I supposed to do? And so I really, again, just prioritize putting yourself first in the sense that, just like they say, you have to put the oxygen on yourself before you can put it on the person next to you. If we don't take care of ourselves, our children, they can feed off of that, even as little babies, right? So even that taking a deep breath before you go to get your baby that's crying, or saying positive affirmations to yourself, finding 5 minutes to do some journaling or some meditation throughout the day, and resting when they are resting, of course, are such huge themes,
I know.
especially for new moms, because the energy that we have, our baby can 100% feed off of it. And then it affects their health as well, because again, it all starts when we're in childhood and babies. So that cycle just continues to go on. So just really highlighting that importance for them, and then finding those small ways to practice self-care throughout the day are definitely the biggest things that I help the new moms with.
Okay, beautiful. So I know that you're on social media. That's actually how we connected. Can you tell us a little bit or tell the audience a little bit about what it would look like to work with you? Because I know you're on TikTok, you're on Instagram, and we've talked about it. And you have, I think, different, is it packages or different ways that they can work with you based on the social media account?
Yeah, so I work with each client differently based on their individual situation, right? The first step is usually a case review. So this is again where we're going super in depth into their entire history. And this kind of helps us decide how long, how often we're working together. In order to get to that case review part, they can either set up a free consult with me in my bio on TikTok or Instagram. It's there in the bio on both. And that's kind of the first step, right? That can be a little scary sometimes.
Yes.
So I also have a free course that I offer on Instagram. They just DM me the word ready, and that is sent to them. We start engaging on there, talking so they can feel more comfortable in just tell me all of your symptoms. Tell me all of the things because I want to know. I love saying that. Like, tell me everything because sometimes, people will say, oh, well, this is too much information, but And I'm like, no, it's not. I want to know everything because it all
Yeah,
makes
that
sense.
is so that's huge though, because, especially with our BIPOC clients, no one's ever asked them that, or they're not used to being asked, "So tell me, like, what is it that you need?" So the fact that you do that is really important.
I love learning it because it goes into their overall health, no matter how small it seems. It can sometimes be the key. I'm like, I'm so glad you said that because now I understand and I can help you in a way that I couldn't if you hadn't shared everything. So I want to know all of the things. And so, however they feel comfortable, whether that is talking to me on the phone, messaging me, I am just 100% here to support and serve you in any type of way.
Mm. Yeah, I my assessments are pretty lengthy too, so I can really relate to you with that. They're like, "You're asking me this? Nobody's ever asked me about my childhood, or no one's ever asked me about that symptom of who my doctor is." So I'm sure, I don't know, do you get a lot of that feedback from, moms or any of your clients?
Oh, yeah. I did a lot of times they'll say, well, I didn't know you were going to go so in depth. Or, at first they'll feel a little bit uncomfortable telling me, because we get into everything, right? Like
Yes.
your, not only your lifestyle, but like your bowel movements, because I'm gut health, right? And so things that they feel a little bit uncomfortable with, as we start working together, they feel more comfortable. And then they're texting me like, this was like this today. And there's no such thing as too much information once they feel a little bit more comfortable. But at the end, they're always like, I didn't know that we were gonna go so in depth. It almost felt a little too in depth at times, but they know that it made such a big difference. And that was the key in being able to help them keep these results, not just while we're working together, but to actually be able to have those results for life.
Yeah, and that's also probably why your workshop, the classes that you offer, right? The workshops are probably really helpful for a new client. They get to know you, they get a little bit of information, and it helps them feel a little bit more comfortable.
Yes, yes, because we're really kind of highlighting everything in in my mini course of kind of here's what you might be doing. You might be skipping meals, you might be living on caffeine and no sleep. And here's why it's hurting you, right? Even down to the little, like, if your gut balance is not right, you're probably not absorbing your nutrients right, which is then, if you're not getting your magnesium from your food, it might lead to some anxiety or something like that, right? So every single thing makes a difference, and they can learn it all through either messaging me or, like you said, on the mini course until they feel more comfortable in sharing all of the things.
Yes. So, Tiffany's in today's episode, we really went over, a lot of great points. You've talked about stress management, some of the tools that you give your moms. So, meditation, whether it's enhancing or boosting their food intake, taking a walk, sleeping with the baby, sleeping to really help enhance or even help heal, right, the gut. And you talked about supplements and how that's also really helpful, and a little bit about how, you work with the BIPOC community, so ways that you engage with them and make them feel comfortable so they are able to share a little bit more about their symptoms, and we can really get to that root cause of, the issue that maybe a conventional doctor wouldn't. You also, gave us some really good information around research, some maybe articles and books that our moms can pick up. I'm a big Audible reader. So would you be able to share some books that maybe some moms that are on the go can maybe read when they're driving or running or walking?
Yeah, so there is one that I love. It's called Eat Right for Your Inflammation Type. And that is one that it's really asking you what type of symptoms do you have? This is probably the type of inflammation that you have, and this is the nutrition that is helpful for you. Because one of the core things that we need to focus on is the nutrition, um, because that helps play a role in everything else, right? So once we get that inflammation down, the stress levels down, we start to see huge improvements. Anything by Dr. Mark Hyman is also amazing because he is one of the leaders in functional medicine right now. And so he has a ton of great information. as far as the connection that our gut health and our nutrition and stress all plays in our body.
And Tiffany, with our, you know, people of color, we typically, our doctors come in and they'll want us to completely change our diets. So, leave out corn or leave out rice. And, being Mexican myself, those are like staples
Right.
in our cuisine, right? Like by taking that away, it's taking away from my culture, it's taking away from connecting with my family. So, are there strategies that you incorporate into with your clients to kind of allow them to still keep, their traditional, dishes, but also maybe boosting them with something?
Yes, I love the boosting. So I
I'm gonna
really
start using that word.
yes, it is. It's so helpful because we don't necessarily have to completely cut off everything, right? Because, like you said, then we're cutting off our connection with our culture. And studies have shown that connecting with our culture helps to produce all of the things that we need to be able to lower our stress levels. Just like having that connection is also in itself a form of self care. And so I like to kind of do like an 80-20 rule with my clients. So after we have jumpstart their gut, maybe we cut out foods for a short period of time just to allow their body to heal and find out what they're truly sensitive to. And then we start to break down the day or the week into around 80-20. So 80% of the time, we are focusing on, nutritious, nutrient dense foods that are giving us energy, their protein, their different colored fruits and veggies. And then the other 20% of the time, maybe we're not completely binging or anything like that, but we're incorporating those foods that are comfortable with us, like the rice or the corn, in a way that as long as you are not having any symptoms,
Mhm.
that is what matters the most because we can still incorporate those foods that you love in a way that makes you feel good on a holistic level and helps you physically because 80% of that time we are having that nutrient dense foundation to allow our body to actually be at rest when we do have the foods the other 20% of the time without triggering any sort of inflammation. So it's all about balance, but incorporating those foods can definitely help to boost that connection, which ends up helping our overall health.
Sure. So once again, a lot of empowerment and boosting of our clients to make them feel less overwhelmed. And because the last thing we want to do, right, is shame them for what they're doing,
Right.
but instead enhancing what they already have. Okay.
Exactly.
So Tiffany, yes, once again, we went over so many things: stress management, moms. We went over gut health, research that, you've even given us a couple books that we can pick up. You've talked about strategies, ways that clients can connect to you, ways that you work with maybe some of the practitioners or team members that your clients come in with already, your experience with working with the BIPOC community, and even ways that clients can connect to you on social media. Now, we really thank you, Tiffany, for joining us on Cafecito y Calidad. You have so much knowledge, and I'm any client that works with you is so lucky to have you. You really are making a difference.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me.